hate it when he does that.
What, the little wave?
The little wave. So we're a bit giggly, aren't we? We've just been doing a chicken dance.
Yeah, we have.
The chicken dance. Has anybody seen a chicken dance?
On Instagram.
I'm going to start doing it and then I forget that not everybody watches what we're doing. But yeah.
The little that one. If not, you need to search for it.
Watch it.
What did you just put in? Chicken dance.
Chicken dance. Yeah, there's quite a few there, isn't there? As
Yeah.
we've just found. Because we were showing Ryan, who is now giggling away behind the screen at us, thinking, what the fuck is this podcast recording? Anyway, the irony about all of this actually is that we had just decided that we were going to do an episode on singular focus and how you should just focus on one thing and do it really fucking well. And we've totally gone off on a tangent and started doing the dance.
We've got very distracted. So we've not got any singular focus at the moment. So we're trying to bring it back.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
Post lunch. I was going to say lull, but it's not a lull.
No.
We go the opposite. So singular focus. How did singular focus work for us in the dog training business?
I'm still struggling with the term singular focus, to be honest. Basically, it means do one thing and do it really well, doesn't it?
Yep.
So singular focus, why is it good? What's the opposite to singular focus? Just got a face full of water. So the opposite to singular focus is focusing on so many things you don't know what to do and you don't do anything very well.
Yes.
So the benefits of, I thought we'd start with the opposite, and then the benefits of singular focus are
so weird. Singular focus. When you're doing one thing and you're doing one thing really, really well, then the theory is you're going to get much better results because you're able to put all of your energy and your attention into making that really work. So if you think about let's even say dog training in general, when you're studying and you're learning and you're trying to be the best possible practitioner in dog training. Speaking on my personal experience anyway, you do the usual bit, don't you? Like you may find, actually, like I don't even know where anybody would start nowadays. There's that many things rolled into one, but you learn the basics, wouldn't you? Maybe that's the basics on your theory, and then maybe you'd specialize in obedience or some basic household manners like your loose lead, your sit down stays, you know, like your old kennel club stuff. Maybe you'd focus on those. And then we think, oh, but now I've just had a case where the dog was cracking off at another dog. We have to use cracking off. But the dog was cracking off at another dog. And now suddenly I need to go and learn about reactivity. So I certainly did this. I ended up buying a book pretty much after every time I'd done a one-to-one session in the ad hoc session days. I'd go find a book and I'd buy it and I would sit there and I wouldn't read it cover to cover. I would go and find the chapter that was very specific for my case and go, oh, right, okay. Almost as if I was trying to learn like a how-to guide.
Yeah.
And you'd start doing all that. But then before I knew it, my bookshelf got incredibly full. And I wouldn't say it's that jack of all thing, isn't it? So if you're doing that in your business as well as actually in your training bit, and I imagine you could potentially translate that into groomers as well. But if you're trying to do so many things, then you're not going to do anything very well at all. And then it's going to feel really bitty. So you're going to have a few bits over here with some clients in that category. You're going to have a few bits over here. You're going to have a few bits over there. And how do you know which one thing is working really well? And then how do you even go about marketing all of that stuff? It's too much. And when you're looking at it from that business point of view, if you're waking up and then you're sitting down, it's that age-old thing, isn't it? And we talk about this a lot. If you're sitting down in front of the laptop thinking, I've got to be really productive now, I don't know where to start.
Too many things.
So I don't know where to start because you haven't got a plan. So arguably, let's take it back to that and go like, what's the plan? So how did we actually turn around our dog businesses? There was a really loud creak.
It was actually. I thought something was going to fall over.
When we look at our dog business, what did we do really well to turn it around to make it the business that it is today?
So the biggest thing we did is streamline all the services into one.
Yeah.
Just took everything that would normally be separated out and offered as a puppy this or a, adult that was all just one program. One simple, everybody goes through the same process, but the content's obviously tailored to the person and the dog, but everybody signs up to one program that takes them through the entire journey.
Yeah. And then on the back end then, what did we do to make sure that that one program sold, essentially?
In terms of when we were looking at why someone would buy it, or do you mean?
Yeah, because I think it's all very well and good for us to sit here and go, do a long-term program. It makes sense. And I think all of you listening know that we talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's that translation bit of going, right, I get that I have to do one program, but how do I implement that? So I've now created my one program that I'm going to offer. How do I focus on the next one thing to make sure that we can move that business forward? So would it be, because we didn't go out and then start shouting about it on all the different social media channels, because that wouldn't have really been doing one thing. That would have been doing, even if you just say like Instagram and Facebook, that's doing two things. You're not doing just one thing. So for us, I think in our situation, we already had inquiries coming in. Mm-hmm. We didn't really need to. I mean, obviously we could have done more to get more inquiries in, but there was a handful coming in anyway without us having to do anything. So our one thing was actually focusing on getting the sales bit right. And we had to really work at figuring out how we are going to truly understand that customer on the phone call and even taking a phone call.
Yeah.
Because when you're thinking about all of the different things and you go, right, okay, so how am I going to get somebody in? So I've got to do my social media advertising. I've got to do, I don't even know if email marketing enters the majority of people's heads. But how are you going to get those calls in? And how are you going to do that next logical step? So for us, when we're going, well, if we need to sell something, it's pointless as dipping into loads of different areas. You've just got to do one thing and just do it really, really well. So you think we pretty much just went all in on selling and one program. Just sell it. Just sell the program. We were fortunate enough that we didn't need to do the inquiry, the lead gen bit. So from your perspective then, how did that feel for you when we were doing that in our businesses, considering before, with your favourite term of scrattiness?
Scratting.
Compared to that, just almost stripping back the, what's the word I'm looking for? Do you know what I mean? Like I can't think of the word. The doing stuff. It's not the idea now of we've got a program and it's a long-term one and that's all hunky-dory. But it's the back end bit of like, what do I do to make that thing work?
I suppose I don't understand it because from my perspective, I had the audience there already. So I suppose I didn't have to do all the things because that part of it was already done. And in the beginning, it probably wasn't because I would have had to find people. But after, I don't know, a year of like building it all up, I'd got enough people and enough referrals and enough inquiries coming in that the bits that I did change just meant it was just that sell. And that's all I was concentrating on then because we'd got the program created, we'd streamlined all the services into one. That was just, for me, my brain just slotted into place of going like, why doesn't everyone do this? Because it's so much easier. It doesn't matter whether it's a puppy, a reactive dog, a dog with food aggression issues, like interrelation problems in the house or anything. It's the same program. So like the clarity for me was like, this is just amazing. And so I suppose for me, it was just a lot easier because all I'd got to deal with is those calls coming in, or at least inquiry coming in, and then arranging a call. And then I was having to be really conscious of like, how do I put this across now? Because I'm selling something quite different to what I sold before. So that's where that focus then comes back to, I need to do things slightly differently now. because it isn't going to be enough to cut it and just put a button on my website and expect somebody to pay me £1,000 now. A bit more work's got to go in.
So your one thing then started off by consolidating everything into one program. And I remember having this conversation with you, and that was the singular focus that we had to do. It's like, right, just forget everything else for a minute. We've just got to figure out what that service is going to look like. So that was that one focus we had to do. And then the next bit was, like you've just said, how are we going to sell it? So that becomes the next focus.
Yeah.
Because you've already almost, I imagine it as a, like when people do these to-do lists and you're just writing loads of things down. I'm terrible at this because when I get so overwhelmed with everything, I need to do a brain dump, and mine is to put a massive to-do list down.
Like the one you did yesterday?
Like the one I did. It's grown.
Oh,
it's on
God.
3 pages now. But sometimes for me, I know that I just need to get it out of my head and go, right, I can almost see it then as like, these are the bigger picture tasks. These are the little easy to tick off things, but I feel better that it's like, oh gosh, right, it's out of my head and it's done. But if I try to attack that whole list, which sometimes I do, and I look at it and I'm like, shit, like there's too much there. I don't even know where to start. But so like for us at the moment, yes, that to-do list is like 3 pages long. However, we know the one thing we need to focus on at the moment is transferring all the stuff from one system into another. That has to be the one thing. Like everything else has to give to a degree. Mm-hmm. And this is where arguably you're going to have some stuff that has to tick along in the background a little bit, but they should be really, really little tasks because we've got a big one to do. And
the big one's got a deadline.
The big one now has a deadline.
Has to be met.
We've been pushing back this deadline. And now we're like, oh crap, it's very, very imminent. But yeah, that has to be that one thing, because if we try and tackle that whole, like nothing's going to get done on that list then. And everything gets pushed back. And then the impact that has on the business is, well, the business doesn't grow. And actually, in our position, like if we don't get this one thing done, then clients are going to suffer.
So would you say then that the best way to deal with any sort of list is put it in a red, amber, green type scenario?
John, it's a good question. And I think everybody does this slightly differently. So I've seen people, and I've seen mentors and loads of other business coaches out there recommend putting it into a quadrant. So you would have like the top half of that quadrant being like your very important, like urgent, and then your less urgent ones underneath. And I forget exactly what the other quadrant boxes are, but you'd categorize them. Then you could absolutely do a red, amber, green bit. Other people do a to-do list. That's my go-to. It's just
in order and tick off.
You could
maybe
do it in order. You could do it how my brain works, which is literally I just need to brain dump everything out, and then I'll look at it and I circle the most important ones so I can see it like it's more visually vivid to me. I can look at it and go, oh, right, that's there. For me also, I split my to-do lists into 2 categories. So I've got currently quite a lot of uni deadlines coming up. And I was getting to the point where I was getting a little bit stressed last week because I've not because I haven't looked at the assignments, but because I'm unaware of the exact deadline, because I haven't written it down anywhere. So it's in a piece of paper that they gave me at the start of the term, but I hadn't written it down anywhere. So even adding them into my Google Calendar now, I'm writing it down on a bit of paper. I'm like, do you know what? I can breathe because I can see it. I can go, right, that needs doing by that date.
Yeah.
But knowing then when to do that work, when to look at it and go, right, this is the plan. And if you think about it, this is exactly the same as how your business should work. Because for us, if we're planning out the next 12 months or even the next 3 months, which is what we should all be doing as business owners, absolutely be planning the next 3 months at minimum. What's important? What are you going to do? And arguably, I think you could take that back to your original mission, your goals, like what are you hoping to achieve and by when? Because let's face it, if you've not got a goal, how do you know what to do?
Yeah, but this is the thing that's missing from most.
Yeah.
I want to say most because I'm just categorizing everyone into most. But like, do you remember the time where for me to plan 3 months ahead was like horrifying? Do you remember those conversations we used to have?
God, that feels like
do you
forever
remember?
ago. But yeah.
So I would put every single blocker available that existed in the way. And the reason for it was because it's the commitment of saying in 3 months' time, I'm going to be doing something.
Oh my God, this is so vividly coming back to
me. Do you remember at the farm shop?
Yeah.
And I used to say like, oh, but I don't know whether I'll be going away in our camper van that weekend. And you were like, well, can we not just put it in anyway? And then you can go a different weekend. I was like, but I don't know if anyone else is available because we go away with friends a lot. Okay. Right. So, and I remember you just trying really hard to like appease me, but also you wanted to slap me around the face and go, what the hell? You've got to compromise somewhere. And I didn't want to compromise, did I? And then there'd be something else and something else. And, oh, we might be going to here there. Well, we won't know that yet until I've spoken to so-so. Like all these things used to come out. And now, like we're planning into 2026 and I do not bat an eyelid at it at all. If it's in my diary, it's in my diary.
Yeah.
And it's locked in and I can't do something, I can't do it. That's it. Like that's now I totally am on board with it. But at the beginning, I can see why people don't plan ahead. I can absolutely understand it 100% because that was me.
So actually, this is a bit of a tangent, but I like it. How did you, well, you've just said that I'm putting words in your mouth now, but I know that felt incredibly uncomfortable and horrible for you. Almost like you were losing your freedom.
Yeah. And also, do you remember the calendar, the diary thing? Because I didn't have a digital diary when I met Jo. She was like, what?
I'd gone through that pain like 3 years prior.
Yeah.
When somebody challenged me on it.
But also the putting it on the thing. Do you remember I didn't like the Google app and I found my own app that was like compatible with a Google Calendar.
This is all like somewhere in the life in my head.
Oh, it's not for me. It's there. It's right there for me. It's still not raw. I don't want to say raw because that sounds really like over the top, but
no, it was over the top.
It was over the top, wasn't it? But now I look back at all of those things and was like, I put blockers in the fact that I didn't want to go digital because I didn't like the app. I didn't want to commit to 3 months ahead, let alone nearly 2 years ahead is what we're doing now. And I did. I felt like I was just getting, the commitment was imprisoning me almost. That's how it felt. And I didn't like it. And I was just like, I just want to be this person that can just put a class on and then I don't have to put another one on if I don't want to. Like I worked 6 weeks ahead and that's pretty much, maybe I did work 2 months ahead because of the class overlap, like the 6 week thing. But that's it. I didn't plan stuff ahead ever.
So interestingly, potentially, how do you feel about your freedom now? Do you feel like
I've got more freedom, way more freedom now. It's really strange, really, really weird, actually.
Yeah. How did you get over that?
I think one day I just had a word with myself and went, Vicky, stop being bloody stupid. And that was it. I got over it.
It took time to get to that.
It took time, but the day that I went, well, I'm not going to think about it anymore, is the day I was over it. Like it happened in one day almost, the closure of it, but the lead up to it was weeks battling, maybe even months. I can't even remember.
I think it was months. It was months to get you onto that thinking trajectory. And then, God, you forget how quickly this year's gone. I would say it wasn't all that long ago that you only got over the app, the calendar app switch over.
Do you know why? Because they got rid of the app.
Yeah.
And I had to change.
They did. You were forced to change.
I remember messaging you saying, Joe, they've got rid of the app. And you were probably at home, like rolling your eyes, being like, thank bloody God they've got rid of the app because you have to go on the Google app now. And then literally I adapted to it in like about an hour. I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine with it now.
You moaned about it for several weeks.
I did, but I was over it in my head. But I was like, what was all the fuss about? Why was I making such a massive deal out of this?
But it's such a real thing for people.
Yeah, I know.
I remember having the diary issue. I remember signing up for my first mentor. And obviously they were very well trained and well versed in how to onboard you and do all of this stuff. And my blocker was, but all the blockers of like, I think I needed to attend a training course or something. I was like, I don't know if I can go because that next set of dates I haven't. And it's like, well, look on your phone. I'm like, oh, it's not on my phone. It's like, what do you mean it's not on your phone? I was like, oh, it's a paper diary.
Yeah.
He's like, what? I was like, is this not a normal thing then?
Would you know, like when the dates go, do you know what we've just signed up for where you can put the dates automatically go in somebody's diary?
Yeah.
Like there'd be things like that. And I'd be like, I haven't got it's not going to work for me because I haven't got one. It's the same sort of thing, you know.
It's mad,
crazy.
isn't it? Like the block is. My sister-in-law, actually, she's a hairdresser and she's been helping me out with some childcare stuff at the moment. Thank you, Helen, by the way. And she has got a paper diary with the mentality being, and I remember it really well because I was the same. Like, would you'd write it in pencil so that it's not an official thing.
I always
so you could rub
pencil.
it out and then just move it. I'm like, what's the difference between that and a digital one? But I had the same blockers. But it's weird, isn't it?
I think as well, part of a paper diary was it's my writing and I can understand it. And whereas if it's on a diary, on a phone, it's not. So it wouldn't mean as much to me. That's even weirder saying that out loud.
I'm glad you recognised it because I don't know what to say to that.
I don't know. But I remember going to sessions and not having that paper diary, and then I couldn't book someone else's next session in. So how awful. Like there's unprofessional, right there.
Oh, there's so many things we can talk about on not being professional. But and linking it back to the supposed theme of this particular
I don't know how we've got onto this.
It's us, it's what we always do. But arguably, like it's all interlinked, isn't it? Because I think the blockers that people put up or put out there is how you end up not focusing on one thing. It's almost like your brain goes, hold on 1 second. If you just do that one thing, then look at all this other stuff that's going to go wrong. Look at all this other stuff that's not going to happen. Or if you do that, then, it's really bad. Like say even if you're going to niche, just do one thing, just one thing, one area. And the brain goes, but what about everybody I'm turning away? What about everybody I'm losing? It's like, well, you'll be disqualifying people anyway, just from being you. Not everyone's going to want to buy from you. But if it's so hard because I just know if you are focusing on too much, nothing gets done. It's impossible. You can't possibly do everything. So when you do lean in, and more importantly, when you tie it into what you're wanting your business to be and to stand for and to help, like you think if we didn't have the mission for Canine Business Academy, I really don't know where we'd be because it's so easy to go off on tangents on loads of different things. And in one breath, we could be talking a bit about social media and people might think, are you social media people? And in the next breath, we could be talking a bit about, I don't know, a bit like we do on this podcast. It's a bit all over the place, but there is an underlying theme of it's strategy. When you figure out the plan and you know how to execute it, that analogy we're always using about the sat nav, if you put that end destination in, you don't suddenly go right and left at the same time. You can't do it. But that's what we're doing. It's what we do all the time. And actually, thinking about it from when I was dog training, and I'm sure, in fact, I know you did this in your puppy classes as well. What's the one outcome we're trying to get people to do in that first, not even in the first lesson, like in a session? How many things do we try and focus on? Well,
I was just thinking this, actually. I was just about to say that before you brought this up, because I was talking to one of our coaching clients about this and about how much information we give people on one session. I used to have this thing about four different exercises.
Mine was 3.
Was it? 15 minutes per thing. Now, that 15 minutes is me demoing it, which, let's face it, never goes right the first time. Sometimes you have to switch the dog. Sometimes the dog's focused, sometimes it isn't. So that could take 10 minutes. And then you got 5 minutes left for people to practice. And I'm expecting I'm not expecting it, but I'm kind of going, well, you've watched the demo. So now you should be able to do exactly as I do and execute it perfectly. And then when they don't, I'm like being stretched here, there and everywhere, trying to help everybody. And then be like, oh, right, we're on to the next thing. So they've only just probably had one go at it. Yeah. And then we're on to the next thing. And so really what we should be doing, if we are going to do our class with several different abilities and different dogs in it, we should just be focusing on one thing per class. And actually, just by doing that would hugely elevate that class.
Yeah.
So if you were spending an hour on, let's think of the really fundamental things that people want. Settling. So you want a dog to be in a public place with lots of stuff going on and not react to it and just lie there, be good as gold, not do anything. Why don't we do an hour of that? Because why not? People would get bored of that. And that's the conversation I was having with someone recently. Well, we can't do that. Why is that then? Well, because they're going to get really bored of doing that. But isn't that what they want? Don't they want to solve that problem? Well, yeah, but I mean, I can't just like let them sit there for an hour and just teach them how to settle. Why not? But these are the questions to ask ourselves, isn't it? Is going like, if that's what we want, if that's the outcome that owners really want, and let's face it, like back to the Joe Rosie episode, it always rings in my ears about when she talks about what the people really want. They want to be able to, like the example she gave was like putting a dog outside a shop and going in and getting some Rizzler. But it's that, isn't it? Like go and say hello to dogs and people, but don't overdo it. Don't jump all over them. Just be like, yeah, I've seen you, sniffed you, and now I'm back. Those are the things that we really need to be teaching people.
Yeah.
Most people. So why don't we just focus on one of those things or do a whole course in one of those things rather than lots and lots of bitty things, which is our brains are all over the place. And I know that from teaching it. I'll be like, right, now I'm in settling. Oh, now I'm in recall. Oh, I'm doing loose lead walking now. So for me, my brain was fried. What about the poor people that have never done it before? And they're trying to like just understand you and then they're being shifted into something else completely different. Oh, so all of that stuff you just learned, we're actually going to, I used to say things like that. What did I used to do? Something about hand touch and something else where we didn't want the dog to touch your hand. I would literally go from the one exercise, we want the dog to touch the hand, the other one we didn't. I can't even remember what it was now, but I remember like having it in the syllabus of 1 week and going like, well, it doesn't matter because it's a different exercise, but you've just done it. The one before it, you've just taught them to touch it. Now you're expecting them not to. Stuff like that, when I look back, it's madness, absolute madness.
Yeah. It comes back down to what we've said before, isn't it? About what is the purpose of your business? You should be an outcome-based business. And I don't know the exact percentage because I don't even know if this work has ever been carried out, but my theory would be, I reckon 90% plus do not think of an outcome-based business. We think we are an outcome-based business, I think.
I think we do.
I think we're going, but we're giving owners what they want. Like they're saying they want a puppy class or they're saying they want loose lead training. So I'm going to go and give all of that stuff. But are we spending time understanding truly what that person is looking for and how much the dog and the dog's behavior choices is impacting their life? Because that's where that magic can happen. And that is what is going to help you as a business owner when you are truly thinking about your client.
Yeah.
And really putting them first and then figuring out how your business aligns with that. That gives you the ability to say, sorry, Mr. Smith, I actually don't think we're the right business for you. Which, oh my God, so many people should be able to say that. It's unreal that doesn't happen because we're too busy in the, oh my God, I need the money. Please come and buy with me. I don't care if I don't really know what it is. Just give it to me. Come on here. But when you are so focused on understanding why your business exists and that outcome base for your client, and you have that ability and that confidence to be able to say, I'm sorry, I'm not right for you, or actually, I am right for you. And here's the reason why, because I fully understand how much this dog is having an impact on your life.
Yeah.
Or what you truly want to get from your relationship with that dog.
Yeah. And also, let's take that example that we were talking about earlier about just doing one thing in, say you spent an hour doing settling, for example, in a class, boundary work or whatever. People don't want that, or people don't expect that from a puppy class. That's the kind of kickback, right? Well, isn't it our job to change that expectation then? Like, surely that's down to us. That's down to no one else. The public only thinks certain things because of what we do. We're the professionals. And if we are only putting on puppy classes where people are learning 4 or 5 things in an hour, 5 different things in an hour, different skills, that's what the public expects. And therefore then, if we go back to that example, like we're going to teach them to settle for an hour, but you tell them nothing, you don't put any information out there at all in any of your messaging or any of your website, anything, and suddenly they're just sat there for an hour not doing anything, then they're not going to be happy probably. They're not going to be walking into that room expecting that. So therefore, there probably is going to be some kind of like disappointment and some kind of like disconnect between what they're expecting and what they're going to get. So I think bringing this back to setting the expectation and dare to be different. Oh my God, like be different. Like no one else is doing that, probably. I mean, haven't done every bit of market research, but I'm pretty sure that no one else is going to just get their people to just sit in some people do it on location, don't they? We're going to go and sit in a cafe, but who does that just sat in a village hall or, just outside the village hall or something?
Yeah.
And it's having the confidence in yourself to know that is the right thing for these puppies. Yeah. They really need to learn this skill. They really need neutrality is a massive buzzword at the moment, isn't it?
It is a big buzzword at the moment, isn't it?
But that is what, to me, that's neutrality. If you got a bunch of dogs in a room that couldn't care less about each other or the people around them, for me, that's neutrality. So why are we not if we feel that passionately about it, why can we not just go, I can do these classes or I can do this training however I want, however it looks, so that that person is going to walk away with their dog not being bothered about everything around them.
Do you know what I think the key message in that I've just taken from that is that passion piece? And actually, I think this is where a lot of us as business owners go off the beaten path, because yes, we are passionate about working with dogs, but how passionate? And I know,
controversial.
I know. And I mean that in a way by not saying that we're not passionate about it, but are we passionate enough to change the status quo?
Mm-hmm.
Are we passionate enough to actually critique what it is we're offering and confidently say, is this right? Based on what I know, based on how I feel, is this the right thing to do? Because when you have that heart piece involved and you are so laser focused on trying to make sure that that passion comes into fruition, that is what's going to help you take that one step forward.
Do you know what? This is why I love our coaching calls so much, because everybody's different with the journey that they go on with this. But you know that something's in there. Like you're talking to somebody and we've been working with them for however long, and you know that something's in there and they're struggling to have either the confidence, the fear of judgment of others to actually do the thing they really want to do. And I think that is a big part of this, by the way. If I just get dogs to settle in a class for an hour, what are other people going to think of that? So I think that is a big part of this as well. But when you've got someone that they're trying to figure it out and they're going back and forth and they're battling with their own head, and they suddenly get clarity on something and it lands with them and they're like, oh my God, now I see it. Yes, I understand. Yes, I've got the passion. And no, I'm not actually delivering the results to those people, am I, the way I'm currently doing it? When you get that like light bulb moment, there's nothing like the feeling of that when someone actually opens that, like breaks out of that box and goes, no way. Like, I can't believe I've been doing it like that for so long. And I know, because I've been there. I just love that. And I think that's where I hate this word because it's like used a lot, but like the empowerment that we can assist people in that decision. We're not making anybody do anything they don't want to do. All we're doing is asking the right questions and getting them to think and not make a rash decision, because there are people that will make rash decisions based on like, you can do whatever you want. Oh, right. In that case, stab and let's just pick something. And it's like, no, that's not the right thing for you, I don't think. So let's rethink it. Let's, put pen to paper, brain dump, whatever you want to do. And it's just so nice when you get somebody that goes, you've actually drawn it out of me. I've actually had chance to think about it, and I've actually had chance to forget the noise around me, forget all the judgment, forget what everyone else is doing, and just really focus in what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I just, for me, that just like makes our job so, it's not a job. It's not a job anyway.
Yeah.
But it makes it, doesn't it?
Yeah. And we've had a few comments recently, haven't we? Going like, oh, I wasn't expecting this many questions. And I thought you were just going to give me a plan to execute, maybe like a one size fits all bit.
Yeah.
And for us, we're always bringing it back down to, well, what's the one thing again that's going to drive you forward? What is the reason that you get up every day to do the thing that you do? Because arguably you've got all the surface level answers of, we need to pay the bills, and that surface level answer again of, well, I do enjoy working with dogs, but again, like what's specifically about it? Like, if you really had to get into the nitty gritty of it, like what about it? Like, I know for me, it was the fact that I could geek out so much on the psychology aspect of it and the behavior. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Why have you chosen to do that? And that was the bit that got me really excited. So that was my one area of focus, if you like.
Mm.
But once you know what that is, you can then take that next laser focus in the business and go, right, okay, if that's my passion piece, if that's what I'm all about, then how am I going to implement that? So is the next logical step for you creating that program and figuring out what that service is? Is the next logical step thinking, actually, I do really need to, I was going to say revisit, possibly even visit for the first time ever, thinking about what does your business stand for? Like, if you was to bring in a hire and you were going to get some staff in, how are you going to explain to them what your business stands for? Because these are the things that we need to start thinking about if we want to future-proof and have a sustainable business long term. And again, it doesn't need to be super scaled in terms of pushing six figures if that's not what you want. If you want to create a stable job, a stable life where it's, I don't know, whatever figure works for you. If it's 12K, 15K, 20K, 50K, whatever the number is, it doesn't matter. But you have to decide what is going to work for you with what service offering. Because it doesn't mean you have to do everything. It doesn't mean you copy everybody else. It's you pick one thing that's going to work really well for you based on that passion piece. And then the next logical step, do you know what I mean? Like you creating that plan, pulling that example back to the sat nav. You are not going to be told to go so many different ways all at the same time because it's not possible. You have to do one thing at a time and get it working really, really well. I think the thing we hear a lot of, I was going to say kickback, but it's not really kickback, but you can see that there's a block there for a good majority of people, that when we're almost saying to streamline your services, it's like, oh, what? I have to get rid of things? Well, again, you don't have to, but how are you going to be able to do all of this justice? And we've talked about it before, haven't we? So like using your example when you had the plethora of services with all the million things. If you were doing it, air quote, the right way now, and we're looking at the audience growth, how the hell are you going to market like even 5 different services? How are you going to do it?
No, I'd struggle.
It'd be really, really challenging.
Yeah. You'd always be, you'd always be thinking, I haven't done enough of that one. I need to, like, and invariably, when you do offer a lot of services, you tend to just keep doing the same. Like, you look at anyone's Facebook page, there's going to be something that comes through. And if, like, it's interesting when people say, oh, I really love doing this, or I really love doing that, or I really love working with these. Well, I can't see that in any of your stuff. Like, if that is the thing you really love, you need to put more of that on, because I can't see that at all.
Yeah.
And it is like a little shop window into what people are thinking, isn't it? Those Facebook profiles, because you go, I just don't see it. I mean, I'm usually just seeing a load of dogs, so it doesn't really give me any clue. But if there was some stuff, it's like, well, I'm seeing lots of scent work stuff here. I thought you said you actually wanted to be the go-to person for reactivity. Oh, no, I do. but there's nothing kind of here about reactive dogs at all. And so like, maybe that isn't what they really want then, because if they're putting STEM work stuff on, maybe that's the thing. And we have to just work this through, because if we don't, we take that first answer, we could be doing something completely wrong. I mean, you can always go back, by the way, if you do decide to do the wrong thing. There's no like, you know, I said this before, but there's no niche police or anything, but you have to like keep working it through in your brain and going through the process of all of this. Like, the one thing can change, but just do something, one of something, and then go on to something else if you don't want to. People don't remember either. Like, you know, when it's conversations recently about like, oh, but I'm known for this, or people would say, go to her because of this. And it's like, but if you changed it, people won't remember. Like, you're going to get some people that say, oh yeah, go to her, and you don't do it anymore. It's going to be, oh, she used to do that. But like, in the majority of cases, like, you'll find new people, a new audience, a new set of people that are really interested in that thing. Like, it really doesn't matter. No one walks around going, wonder what like so-and-so's doing today, or, you know, it doesn't work like that. We almost put ourselves on a pedestal when we think, but what will it look like to the outside world? It's like, they don't remember.
No, they don't care. Nice as possible.
I know, and that isn't us being derogatory. It's just they don't. We get so hung up on things like that. It just doesn't affect it.
I always had to remind, when I've had staff before, and you could see that the frustration was coming in on maybe the dog wasn't progressing as much as they had hoped, or the client was asking the same questions over and over again. And it's that frustration, isn't it? Because we go, I've told you this. And even that language, like, I've told you this.
We've gone through this.
I've not shared the information with you. It's, I've told you this. Why aren't you doing it? Why is the dog still doing this? How many times do I have to tell you? Blah, blah, blah. And I remember having the conversation with the team and going, well, let's look at this logically. We see them for 60 minutes, maybe every other week, maybe every week, even if it is weekly. Let's just use a bog standard normal work week, which is what, like 40 hours, 37, 40 hours. You've got 60 minutes in that. That's just a work hour schedule as well. I don't actually know how many hours there are in a 7-day week. But if you've got 60 minutes in amongst all of that, even if you did it on super simple math of like what a 160-minute session compared to a 3-hour gym session or something, which one's going to retain more information? Because you're doing the gym one more. So we have to always be mindful of, people can only retain so much information, you included, you as a business owner, which is why if you are off, certainly from the business point, if you're off trying to figure out, right, I need to do Facebook and I need to do Instagram and I need to do email marketing and I need to figure out how to do some sales, and now I need to figure out how to take payment. And basically you're trying to implement all the things that we talk about on this podcast. Because I know a lot of you are. Yeah. Which, by the way, like, fucking awesome.
Yeah, we love this. We love the feedback like this, because we're like, we get people messages say like, so I've created a program and I'm trying it out now. And we're like, yay, brilliant. And then they're like, but I'm stuck on this, or I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that, and I'm trying to do the other. And it's because this podcast is not structured like a program when you work with us. It's very different. What we're doing is taking elements of it out and chatting about it. So it'll never work pretty much, unless you're really, really good at like having like 1,000-piece jigsaw in front of you.
If you're good at focusing on one thing, then it'll work.
Then it'll work. But you need to know the order, you need to know the process involved in it. And it's not just kind of like just picking things randomly and put them together. You have to have that logical step around it as well. And so I think there's going to be very few people that can do that. But the reason we do this podcast is to give you hope and let you know that there are other ways, and to just give you, even if it's a spark of an idea. And if you've gone and been a go-getter and created a program, then you know that what you're doing isn't right. Like, what you've been previously doing isn't what you enjoy
It's not what you
doing,
want to be doing.
or you think it isn't delivering the results that somebody's getting. And I think that's, for us, it's those clarity moments that we're like amazing, because it's getting people thinking differently. And this is what this industry so desperately needs. So thank you everyone who has tried these things or doing these things right now and really want to make changes in your business, because that is the ultimate aim with this. So yeah, well done.
And I'm just going to round it off in going, there is so much stuff you can go away and learn, both in dog knowledge and in business knowledge. So much. Everyone's going to have different opinions on different things as well. But this is where you have to create your own roadmap. It's called a roadmap for a reason. You have to create that step by step. This is what I need to do to get me to the next part of my business. Because doing everything at once is not the answer. You may have a to-do list that is 3 A4 pages long, like mine currently, for our business. But that doesn't mean I'm doing it all in one hit. I can't, it's physically impossible. I can knock a few things off that are maybe linked, but you can't do everything. And you have to really look at it strategically and going, does that make logical sense for me to do now? Is it right for me to do right now? Our business basics program, at the start of the year, we talked about this program and we were like, it's not the right thing to do right now. But we so easily could have gone off on a tangent and spent time recording it, trying to not actually sell it, but mentally sell it. How are we going to do that whilst running it alongside the one-to-one coaching process? Like, it just wouldn't have worked at that time. So we had to go, right, let's just focus on one thing. And we focused on our coaching program, that 6-month coaching program. Prior to that, we went all in and focused on the podcast. So everything, you're just doing one thing. When it starts working and you know it starts working and it's giving you the return that you're after, you go on to the next thing. Then you get that one working really fucking hard and really well. Well, then you go on to the next thing. But you can't, in our opinion, you can't grow and scale a business if you are suddenly offering loads of different services. You're trying to do all the marketing across all of the platforms, and you're trying to be present here, there, and everywhere, and trying to do the networking, and trying to do the class. And do you know what I mean? It's like and.
This is what creates that burnout.
Yep.
All of that.
It's not possible. And you're trying to appease, air quote, clients. This is a whole other episode, actually, by making your products and services affordable. I'm not even going into this here. But
yes, stop right there.
But if you're doing all of that stuff, you're not going to have time to do anything. Nothing at all. And nothing's going to work very well, if at all. So please just focus on one thing.
And you know what? Your clients will really thank you if you've just got one service.
Oh, I promise you, it's so much easier.
I mean, yeah.
There is a strategic plan around having one service as well, based on the size of business you are. You definitely don't need more than one, max 2, if you're below, I'm going to say like 70k.
Yeah.
Because it's too much. Too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Good convo.
Yeah, weird convo.
Well, we think it's a good convo. Hopefully you do.
So please go and leave us a review. We need to top up our reviews. It's kind of knocked off a little bit. So please pop a review on so that other people can find this podcast and hopefully help even more people just like it's helping you.